Hello and welcome to Tabletop Tales. My name is Bob, and today I am going to be talking about Marvel's new role playing game announcement. They announced last week that they're going to get back into the role playing game business, and it's going to be ready by the year 2023. But you can get the playtest rules in the year 2022, next year, about 9 months away. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this. I mean, it's great artwork, and I love the games, and I'm going to talk about the games in a minute, the ones that I used to play. You don't really get to know much about the game. It's being created by Matt Forbick. You can find him over on Twitter. He's been involved in role playing games for a long time. You can read a little bit about his history over there. He's yeah, long time gamer and developer. Oh, he develops some D&D stuff that I wanted to try. Those one shot uh, storylines. I can't remember what they're called. But one thing that we do know about the this new role playing system is that it's going to have character abilities of might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, and logic. So yeah, so you can see what they did there, Marvel, and that's going to be the list of the character traits. And so I'm guessing what they're going to do is I'm working on from a different way here at home, so this is going to be a bit confusing for me. I don't usually do it this way. Where do I want this right here? Okay. Back when in the 1980s, when I was in high school, yeah, that was a long time ago. Uh, Me and my neighbor, we went to go look for the Red Box Dungeons and Dragons starter set at a Shopco. I don't even think there's many of those around anymore. But we were looking for the Dungeons and Dragons box set, and what we also found on the shelf was the Marvel Superheroes RPG. And I used to spend a lot of time by my neighbor in grade school and high school, and he would always have X-Men comics and other comics to read, so we decided to buy the Marvel Superheroes box set as well. Um, but referring back to that statistics that we know of from the Marvel game that's coming out, that you're going to have character stats like this. I'm wondering if they're going back to an older system like this, because Dungeons and Dragons had strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, con, and charisma for characters, and in Marvel there was a thing that people often referred to as face rip. So you had fighting, agility, strength, endurance, reason, intuition, and psych. So I'm wondering if they're going back to something where closer along like that format. You can still find quite a few people devoted to the old Marvel TSR rule set. And I'm going to talk about that rule set in a minute. As the game, uh, they had, I used to have most of these. So there was the basic game system, which is this up here. But these came out a couple years later. Uh, they were kind of a revisited new versions of the basic rules set, but these were the original basic rules up here that came with the Doc Ock campaign with it. And this Dungeon Master screen, I had that. I had this Avengers book. Then later on, yeah, Armor Wars, that was a good one. Then a couple years after the basic rule set, they had the advanced systems, which gave it more flavor, kind of upgraded it a bit. Because I think this was like, I don't think, maybe I can, let's go back to that one page. Yeah, let me see. I don't think I can't see it from here. No, but what I'm looking for was the required age minimum to play the game. and I think it was like ages 10 and up, or it could have been like ages 12 or 14 and up. So the problem back in the 1980s is that if you played Dungeons and Dragons or you read comic books or anything of that nature, you were just a gigantic nerd and you were like a social outcast for the most part. Um, so when it came to me and my neighbor playing this, we had a lot of fun playing this. But when it came to getting other people to playing it, no, it was too childlike. It was too childish. And these were people that played D&D, but yes, running around as an elf or a dwarf or a hobbit in the forest. Yeah, that is just a more adult-like than running around as a superhero in a cape, I guess. So it was, yeah, and it's just so nice that things have changed over several decades, where now you can just play stuff for the most part and not have to face that kind of stigma. But let's go to, I want to go to over here. So I need to cut down on the GM opacity layer. Okay. So what you had in the Marvel game, do I have that? I think, what layer do I have that on? No. Okay, GM layer. Okay, so I bring it up that way. Okay. They had these quick flashcards in the back of the book, or you could actually cut these out. Okay, so you had your characters and your character stats, and this is how you basically you use percentage dice to make a roll to attack something in this game. So let's say you're Wolverine and you're going to attack the Thing. D100. No, I can't. Oh yeah, I did roll from there. 61. So I'll have to cheat and look over here on the other screen. It's just I'm getting ready to move, so all my stuff is set up wrong. So Wolverine has a fighting of an incredible. So if you look on this chart, you would find incredible, and you would look down to see a 61, and a 61 would be in the green. Does he make yellow? I actually think he makes yellow. Yeah, he does. So you would get a yellow result, so then you would look down under the fighting, and you would actually get like a stun. So the Thing would then have to roll his endurance to see whether if he is stunned by Wolverine or not from being hit by his claws. One nice thing about Wolverine in this game is that his claws are made of adamantium, which are unearthly. So even though the Thing has body armor on his sheet, I should do this. Let me do this. In the Marvel Superhero Basic game, it tells you how the game works, fighting, combat, the to hit chart, your characters, their abilities, what their rank scores kind of mean, their limits. It had magic, the basic magic. They came out with a magic book later on that was more in depth. Vehicles, it had campaigns, talking about campaigns, how to run a campaign, contacts, money, character creation, what the original power sets meant, character sheet. I think so. In here, it'll talk about character powers. So when it talks about the thing having body armor, he has, I have to peek over here, thick skin body armor. His hide is of incredible material. So let's say with the Wolverine who has a fighting of incredible and his strength is only good, he would not be able to hurt the thing, but he has adamantium claws, so that's which allows him to cut through anything. So he would be able to hurt the thing physically because he could do an edge attack with his claws, and he would actually score. He would score that stun on the thing, and then the thing would have to roll to not be stunned. So the one thing about body armor, because the thing's body armor protects him versus physical attacks. So you had energy in this game. So if the thing was hit by energy, his body armor would not be as effective. And I don't want to go into a whole thing about how this game worked. I just wanted to give like a brief what would happen kind of thing. So one of the problems I ran into in this game, when you're older and you're an adult, you don't necessarily play the game to be in the spirit of the game or play for fun. You look for the most optimal way of attacking things and doing the most damage. So, yeah, let's go back to this later. So if you had the thing and Wolverine is over here, even though the thing can punch for monstrous strength and has monstrous endurance, and what monstrous is a rank of 75. So if you look at Wolverine, his health is, what is his health? I gotta just look over here. 110. I think it's 110. I can't see it from where I'm at, or looking at the screen. I'm looking at a different screen. So the thing would do 75 damage to him, which, you know, if he did connect with a hit, Wolverine would have 40 points left. But let's say if you're the thing and they had a charge attack in this game, you can move a certain number of squares. It's called a charge attack, and the thing has such high endurance that I'm pretty sure he could charge 3 squares in order to attack Wolverine. So for every square that the thing charged, he would then step up to the next attack level. So he would go from monstrous to an earthly to shift X, that sort of thing. So he would no longer be doing 75 points of damage. He would be doing 150 points of damage. So people just started looking for ways to do that. It's like, well, I'll only do 75 if I attack and punch him. So I'm going to charge him and I'm going to do 150 damage. So you started to run into that sort of problem when I was young. I don't know if you guys had that problem, but back in my days, that's how people would play the game. So then other problems that you had with this this game system, or that I found with playing with my friends, is that one friend was looking through the rules and casting spells. For some reason, I lost the audio over this segment. My friend wants to play a spellcaster. He wants to be a Doctor Strange type because he noticed something. Really fun. So you start learning this about as a young game master. It's a good thing that it happens because it teaches you stuff as a game master to learn and adapt and make rules as you go along. So he would cast his spells, like say you cast a spell on a thing, and then he would do like say some kind of magical bolt, and it would hit him, and then I would say, okay, it does this amount of damage. He goes, no, 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 it does this amount of damage because it's magic. And I say, well, magic's energy. No, magic's not energy. Magic is magic. And it's like, well, magic, okay. I mean, you're doing some kind of force bolt, or you're, or some kind of flame or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm doing a magical bolt. Well, it's some kind of energy. No, 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 it's magic. And he's like, so then you would say, well, in the rules, and he's like, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that in the rules. So then you're going to go through this whole thing of, playing a game session, debating about what things are, so, and you wish you could have thought of this before you created the characters, or why he wanted to create the characters, but they're always, trying to be tricky when they do stuff. And, so it wasn't worth arguing about. It's like, fine. You can do your magic damage. So he could tell that I was salty about that game session, and then later on he would say, well, I can see that magic is kind of hard for you to adjust to or implicate in the game. So I'll tell you what, I'll just be a guy of high intelligence, okay, and I don't need any other powers. I would just want the hyper intelligence. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you want to be like Reed Richards? It's like, that'd be cool. You want to be like Mr. Fantastic, or just a super intelligent guy. And he's like, but I'll forego any other power roles if I could have high resources. So I thought, okay, well, that's fair. You might, if you randomly roll for powers, you could get 5, you could get 10, you could get 2, you could get 1. But we'll just, quick and dry. Like, you can have a guy who's super intelligent with high resources. So then you start playing the game sessions, and then you discover that you're going along, and I didn't think about it because, again, I was a new game master back then, in my teens, early 20s, and so when it came to games or running into villains of things, so because you set it up, it's kind of like you're going to set up their nemesis or their opposites or whatever, so you can make it a challenge for them. So it's just not, But here's the thing with hyper intelligent characters in this basic game system. So we'll just pretend that it's Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic is faced with a villain. He's useless against it. Ben is useless against it, or things of that nature. It's going to be a tough go. Oh, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hyper intelligence, and I'm going to make a resource roll, and I'm going to create a gizmo, and this gizmo is going to be able to take out the character. Now I see why you went with hyper intelligence. Because just like magic, it can defeat anything. You can bypass the whole rule book and all the rules in there, and then you can just make the resource roll so you can have the materials that you need in order to kit bash and use your hyper intelligence roll to make the I win button gizmo. I win. I got it. Yes. Okay. So that was the problem that I started running into playing with this old Marvel TSR game. Now again, there's a whole other groups dedicated to it, and there were plenty of magazines written over the years on role-playing games and to approach them with in the spirit of the game, because yes, nothing works perfectly with rule books and in game design, so you have to kind of, take it with a grain of salt. But this game needed a lot of home rules because let's say you had street level characters like Hawkeye, the Black Widow. You're sitting somewhere down on this tier in this area you're fighting with, and then along comes somebody who wants to play Thor or the Hulk, and they're way up here. So then, of course, these guys are what? They're the show stealers. I mean, so anything that they do is pretty much going to succeed, and they're going to take it out in one shot. where these people they're gonna struggle. So then, as a game master, what do you do then too? Because you got to have something that takes on Thor or the Hulk, but that's going to completely squash these low level characters. So it's you had to. It was really hard to try and balance out the game. At least for me, other people might see this video. The two or three that might see it and say, "Oh, I had no problem running the game. We just did, we implicated this rule or did that." Which is cool. But all I did was run into a lot of problems. And when the other thing that came along is that the friends that I had living in a small town, again being nerds in the 1980s, you played with what you could find. They didn't want to be heroes; they wanted to be villains, and they just wanted to go around and kill the Avengers and that sort of thing. So you just kind of went, okay, well, if that's what you guys are gonna have fun doing, then I guess we'll do that. And it actually was fun. It was fun for a while, letting them run villains and do stuff. There's things. The other thing that Marvel or TSR came out with was this Ultimate Powers book when they started getting around into the advanced books. And once they came out with that, because everybody wanted to create their own character anyways, I never understood that. I would have been totally fine playing Captain America or playing Iron Man or something like that. That would have been something I would enjoy. My neighbor who loved comics, who loved the X-Men, he was totally happy playing Wolverine. He would play Wolverine all day if he could, kind of thing. Yes, they have McDonald's on the moon, if you're checking out the background. And so, but so they had this Ultimate Powers book, and once that came out, let's see, I think might have to do some video editing because I got to go find that page now too. But once they came up with this Ultimate Powers book, then everybody, of course, they wanted to roll their own characters, and I'll show you a problem with that. Okay, so I went and got the PDF for the Ultimate Powers book. So again, I'd have to look over here. So you had this Ultimate Powers book, and it's explained how to use it. Okay, so you had character creation in here, and so people would roll randomly. They get all excited, and it's like, I want to roll my character. Okay. So people would want to roll their own character, so they would get out their dice and they would roll on the charts, and you can see that the odds is you're going to be something mediocre, something low tier is what you're going to end up getting. I've had friends who did get lucky and sometimes got a demon or a deity. A friend actually got deity once. But most of the time you were down here. The thing that happens is when you're low tier, your stats are low, you're fighting in, just like, the Black Widow, Hawkeye area. For stats, you're just like a normal human. If you get into deity, then you're more like Ben Grimm was, and you would shake up your character and you rolled on these different columns for what your powers and stat rank levels would be. So the one thing about having deity and a demon is that not only would you, like, say you got lucky and you rolled high and you got amazing, you got to shift it over to the next column, so you'd be monstrous. Or if you were a deity, you got to shift it over to 2 columns, and then you were unearthly. So of course everybody was tickled pink if they rolled unearthly, but the guy who rolled a normal human or something of that nature, can I roll again? It's like, oh, see, this is why I don't like rolling randomly, because you're just gonna keep rolling until you get something good, so that way you can be like the other guy in the game. Or if you enforce a rule and say, well, that's what you got, that's what you rolled, so that's what you keep. Well, then of course they find a way to try and die and kill themselves off because everybody just loves creating characters and they want to try and get one of these. So yeah. So I know for the most part I'm probably sounding negative about the TSR game, but on one hand, for a while, if you got the right people, like when it was just like me and my neighbor and friends of that nature, you could have all kinds of fun playing in the spirit of the game. And if you stop thinking about min-maxing and focusing on power gaming and having the I win ability, I can't be defeated kind of thing, you could have a lot of fun playing this game. So I'm not going to. I was in my Roll20 games. I was playing. I was setting up a game for something else. But let's go back to, because I have later on there was another game. There was another game between the Marvel TSR game and the Marvel Heroic Role-Playing Game, which came out in 2012. I can't remember what it's called, but it had like a gem. It had dice or like gemstones. You play with gemstones, but it didn't make much sense. And I couldn't get my friends to, with all the issues I was running into with the TSR game, because let's say with that Ultimate Powers book, and they had a certain rank, it started to become where you needed like math, and they would show powers in the back of the book, and that it would say this cubic feet or this thing. So then you're trying to figure out just how much of an area you could affect. So then after a while, it's like, oh yeah, you do. You either just say that they do or they don't. But again, it wasn't so much the game, but the way that the people that wanted to play the game approached it. And I know as a DM, you're supposed to do whatever the players want because you're there for them, for their enjoyment and things of that nature. But I'm still one of those game masters. I've gotten better over the years, allowing people to play how they like to play. But there's still certain things where it'd be like, yeah, I just if you're just a power gamer all the time, like at game conventions, because that's about the only time I get to play role-playing games. At game conventions, I just let it go because they paid to be there and they paid for their enjoyment. So I just let them do what they do. But as far as the boys back here at home in the city, when everybody's just power gaming and trying to, do this. It's the max damage way of doing things. You're going to do the most damage doing this, or this is the smartest thing to do. It's like, but I'm just one of those guys that just likes to play outside the box. I want to have some fun. I want to do some other things. I don't want to do the most optimal thing in this situation kind of stuff. And I know that bothers a lot of people too, but that's just the kind of player that I am, and that's the kind of game master I like to be. But so I'm not going to talk about Marvel Heroic Roleplay much because I have videos on that. If you want to learn about Marvel Heroic Roleplay, those are other videos on my channel. I only have 8 or so videos because I don't get to do this one too often. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about this new announcement. I'm hopeful of how it's going to be. Matt Forbick has 30 years of role-playing. I'd have to look it up if it's 20, 30 years of RPG experience. And he's also worked with, writes modules and books, so I'm sure he has a knowledge of how to make one of these things. But also me as a guy who has been playing role-playing games for uh, 20, 30 years, I've seen just about every kind of dice system there is. I've seen different ways of doing things. They're going to have the dice system of D616, which is, if you know what 616 is, that's the Earth designation for the Marvel Universe, Earth 616. So the D616, I don't know what that's going to be, but just reading down, having 6 character stats of might, agility, ego, logic. I'm wondering if it's going to be more like Dungeons and Dragons or the old TSR way, but hopefully 30 years later they'll come up with some kind of system where you can have balance. Because if you look at the book here, you got your heroes. They're going to have the Avengers and the X-Men. So you're going to have your wide range of heroes here, from your lower tier to your top tier. But let's say, I don't know who this. I want to say this is Galactus back here, but I'm not sure. Not exactly sure. But let's say if Galactus, okay, let's say a cosmic being comes to Earth, and if you were to look at the TSR game, I'm going to go back to here, okay? So, let's say you have a Galactus that comes to Earth. Well, Galactus is operating somewhere over in this area, okay? With all of his powers and all of his abilities, he's going to have body armor, he's going to have force shields, he's going to have all these things, so you're not going to be able to affect Galactus. I mean, you could throw 10, 20 guys at Galactus, and he's whatever, he's a cosmic being, he's just going to blow you away. So the one thing the game did do about the old TSR game is, like, if Galactus came to Earth and he was famished and totally hungry, well, then he'd be in the monstrous range. So then players would actually have a way to probably defeat Galactus if he was, like, totally hungry when he came to Earth. So I don't know what they're going to do with this rule book in order to make things possible for things to happen. And that's why I liked this game. The Marvel Heroic role-playing game, you had dice and you had dice pools, and just the way the system worked, it was possible. It was possible for a group of lower tier agents or heroes to take out, a top tier person, or I mean, let's say if it was Galactus, just for an example, in this game, I've seen Galactus for Marvel Heroic Roleplay. He's got a bunch of die 12s, and cosmic beings are written up a little different, and you have to get rid of each die 12, and once you get rid of all the die 12s, then the cosmic being or the top tier opponent is defeated. So it was possible in this game, where in other games it's just kind of like, it's not possible, and so even if we got into something like, say, I've tried Mutants and Masterminds. A lot of people throw the game Champions at me. Like, Champions was great; you could do everything that you wanted. But let's go say like Mutants and Masterminds or superpower games. You got telepaths, okay? Like, say in a Marvel TSR, the other person my friend liked to play besides Wolverine is Professor Xavier. So I'm going to use Xavier, and I'm going to mind control him. Well, all he has to do is make the roll. Did it, got it. So then he'd be happy because he would just mind control anyone and everyone. Mind control. So this is kind of like, But again, when you go back and look at that original TSR game, and then you say it was for ages 10 or 12 or 14 and up. So if you're 10, 12, or 14 and you're playing that game, you're probably having a blast. When you get older and you start learning games and game mechanics and the old fudgy fudge, you can try and get away with a lot of stuff. So again, cool. But if it's for more geared for the younger generation, the next generation, then that is also have at it, because I did have a lot of fun with certain friends playing Marvel superheroes when I was younger. I enjoy playing the Marvel Heroic role-playing game now, but there's only one convention that I get to go to a year, and I run the game. So, and I do enjoy running it for other people. So, yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but that art is really gorgeous, that's for sure. Though the one thing is that one con that I do get to go to every year, Matt Forbick goes to also. So I will be able to talk to him about this game in a couple months from now. So I don't know. We'll see. 9 months from now, you can get the rule set, the test play set. I think it's supposed to be at your local comic book shop. I'm not sure if game stores will have it, but you can get the test rules, and you can play the game, and you can give them feedback, and we'll see how the game turns out in 2023. So, but I'm pretty happy with Marvel Heroic. It's really difficult finding people to play the game with is the next challenge. So you can get the books and you can get the game, but finding the players is the next step. So, yeah, this was just supposed to be a quick one. I probably rambled on for like 20 minutes now, but yeah, we'll see what this is. Thank you very much for checking out the video, and have yourself a wonderful day.